thank you to my esteemed fellow panelists, and really happy to join our friends across the border today here in celebration of Sikh Heritage Month. Uh, here in the U.S., we started this tradition many years ago at the Pentagon. We would celebrate Vaisakhi every year, even though there were only a handful of us in the U.S. Military at the time. I think uh, so. I joined the military way back in 2001, but when I got in, I was the first to get the accommodation for the star and for Dari. Uh, and then now we have over 100 Sardars, uh, Kesatari, in the Army and the Air Force. But we would have maybe 20 people, if that, 26, show up at these Pentagon Vaisakhi celebrations. But what it allowed us to do inside the Pentagon, in those very thick walls of the Pentagon, was allowed us to showcase and celebrate who the Sikh community is. It allowed us to connect with people inside those corridors, uh, and take away some of the fear. There is Where there is misunderstanding, there is great fear. So what we found was a lot of people, and a lot of the regular, uh, the majority of Pentagon brass, the people of the upper echelons of power there, are white males, right? And it's not surprising. Uh, they Most of them don't know who we are, where we come from, what we represent, and even those that do know that we are Sikhs, uh, doesn't they don't really know what Sikhism stands for. They don't know our wonderful military history, that we fought the Mughals, that we actually fought the British, that we were actually a large we played a very large role in the world wars, and without our help, they may not have turned the tide in the world wars. So they don't. Uh, we need to be in those walls to be able to explain to them who we are and what we do, what we represent. Uh, but as the years went on, we celebrated Vaisakhi. I think during the later stages of the Obama administration, as the Trump administration came into power, they stopped celebrating Vaisakhi. And I realize I'm talking to you guys mostly in Canada. Maybe we have some other listeners here from the US, but you guys are easily a generation ahead of us in all of this. But I just wanted to highlight some of our struggles here. Uh, as the Trump administration came in, the Pentagon's chaplain, the chaplain is supposed to be a chaplain to all, not just to Christians, not just to their own religious persuasion. So the Pentagon chaplain said, "Look, you guys don't have any Sikhs here serving at the Pentagon, so technically we're not allowed to host your Vaisakhi event anymore." And that was deeply offsetting. It was very troubling to have a Christian chaplain come to me and say that we are not going to celebrate your religious tradition, where we've been doing that for the past 4 or 5 years under the Obama administration. Um, so we've continued to fight, and it's not been an easy journey. When I got my accommodation in 2009, it took me a year and a half to fight for that. When uh, everybody that we approached said, "Look, this is not a fight that you can win." Um, I didn't care. I didn't care if uh, if I if I fought and lost, uh, but it mattered to me that I stood up for myself, that I stood up for my that I stood up for my faith. It mattered to me that I stood up for something that I believed in, because that's what I want my kids to do. And I want my kids to see that I fought for something, and that I stand for something. So we took up this massive fight way back in 2009. And after about a year and a half, we basically wore them down, and went through a mountain of paperwork. Uh, and, with the help of, Sikh Coalition, SALDEF at the time, United Sikhs, World Sikh Organization helped out as well. It was a massive effort by the community, as well as ACLU over the years, to just get myself, Captain Ratan at the time, and Corporal Lamba. So just the three of us. And then it took us another 8 years to change policy in the military. So during that time, uh, during the time or the process where they were thinking about whether or not to allow me into the military, one of the Pentagon officials came to me and said, "Look, I was a captain at the time." He said, Captain Kalsi, what if you have to wear a helmet? What are you going to do?" And I said, "This is not complicated. I can wear a patka, and actually, my pug is really not all that big. If you give me a large enough helmet, I can probably fit a helmet over my pug anyway." So he's like, okay, helmet's fine. He's like, "What about the gas mask?" And so part of my background is in EMS and disaster medicine. I actually trained with the IDF in Israel with a lot of their disaster experts. So we routinely wore gas masks, and I had to make sure that I got a good fit. So I knew that a little bit of Vaseline along the edges helped make a very, very good fit. So I said, "Look, I am sure that I can wear the gas mask and get a good seal." Certainly, they didn't just take my word for it. They put me through the tests. I went through the gas chamber test to make sure that I had a good seal. So we got that taken care of. And then the last question he asked me was, "Look, what if you're on what if the mission demands that you cut your hair and remove your turban? Then what do you do?" And I thought for a second there, and I said, "Look, if I have to bleed for my country, I am happy to do that. Uh, you, you can take my arm, you can take my leg, but I can't give you that which does not belong to me. My turban, my case, my hair, my beard, that belongs to my guru, and it's not mine to give." So I said, respectfully, I'm happy to bleed and die for my country, but I can't give you my turban or my hair. And I think at that point they were satisfied, or perhaps they thought, this guy's crazy. He's not going to go away. We might as well let him in. And so they allowed me to they gave me a temporary religious accommodation for my dastar and for my dari and my case. And then from there we worked very hard for the next 8 years to change policy just in the army. And then it took us a few more years, and we got the Air Force on board as well. But I don't know if you guys have been following the news at all here in the U.S., but we're in the process of suing the Navy and the Marines to get this accommodation for the recruits, Sikh recruits, and other religious minority recruits in those services. So we still can't serve freely here in the U.S. We're still fighting the fight. But I think what is important in all this is, early on, everybody and their mother was convinced that that we would lose this fight to the U.S. military, and I understand that. The U.S. military, it is the largest employer, one of the largest employers in the United States. It is one of the oldest and most revered institutions in the U.S. So it was definitely a Samson Goliath moment. Uh, but I think uh, when you have somebody that is, or a group that is passionate about what they believe in, and they're they're willing to sacrifice everything for their beliefs and what they stand for. Much like what Ukraine is doing with Russia right now. Like, who would have imagined, like a month and a half ago, that Ukraine would actually be winning? Given that they're not even top 10 militaries in the world. Uh, but I think it's important to acknowledge that when you have somebody that is truly passionate about what they're fighting for, uh, you cannot defeat a person like that, or you cannot defeat an adversary like that. So when I think about what our gurus had accomplished, what Guru Gobind Singh Ji had accomplished, uh, fighting against the Mughals, they had the conviction of their beliefs, even when they had nothing else. And that, when I deployed to Afghanistan, when I was up against insurmountable odds in any portion of my life, um, that's what I think about, and it's no secret, but a lot of folks know that I was diagnosed with metastatic cancer last year. So it's been a very, very hard year. It's been a difficult fight, but again, I look to what our gurus have accomplished, and I look to our faith for strength. I look to my family for strength and support, and my kids, and it makes everything okay, you know. So all this, with a foot in the grave, it changes your perspective on life. It definitely feels like I walk around with a sword above my head each day. Um, but uh, but there's grace in that as well, and I find I find that I'm connected to something bigger than myself. So I know that was a lot in a very short time.